as the questions received during the event today. Those questions and answers will be posted to the Interact page as well. And lastly, please mute your computers and turn off your cameras if you're not presenting. So with that, I'd like to introduce our director, Mr. Paul Mack, Director of Customer Supply Centers in the 4PL programs. Over to you, Paul.
Hey, thanks, Brad. Good morning and afternoon to everyone. Just wanted to wish you all, each and every one of you, for being here with us today. I thank you. I'm very pleased to be able to welcome those of you who have been with us for a long time now, as well as those who are new to Customer Supply Center operations and our fourth-party logistics business model and program. The intent today is really, it's pretty straightforward. Inform the vendor base, listen to the vendor base, and grow interest in the 4PL program and upcoming opportunities. We have all the key folks on the government side as well as industry leaders to foster collaboration and communication here today. It's a unique opportunity for both parties to exchange ideas, explore potential partnerships, and discuss the latest trends and challenges facing the program. As you may well be aware, the program itself has grown by leaps and bounds since the initial engagement with the Marine Corps way back in 2007 timeframe. We continue to strive to improve our offerings and processes to make it easier to do business with us while providing a best value, fully compliant, requisition-based solution to address the mission needs of our customers. Our end state is to enable our customers to get the commercially available things they need that allow them to husband their resources and focus on their missions while saving the taxpayers money. We can't do it alone, and this is where you all come in. We need your insights, your innovation, and collaboration. Hope this event today will serve as a catalyst in ultimately driving the growth and success of both the 4PL program and industry leaders we are partnered with. So thanks again for your presence here today and active participation. Back to you, Brad.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Let's move on to the next slide, Vanessa. So on the agenda today, I'll give an overview of the 4PL program. Letha Pelham from the Mass Facilities and Harbor Branch will give an update on the 4PL SIN. Karen Long, Branch Chief from our Special Contracting Branch, our acquisition support, will update some upcoming 4PL requirements, and then the question and answer period that I mentioned earlier. So next slide. So as Paul alluded to, we've got quite a diverse audience here with various levels of familiarity with the 4PL program. So thank you for all joining. Some of this will be old hat to some brand new. So hopefully we can share some information on how we operate. So the 4PL program is part of GSA's requisition channel, designed for the repetitive purchase of commercial off-the-shelf items. We offer to our customers a complete end-to-end solution, supply chain management solution, where GSA is the integrator of suppliers in managing that product offering and the process to our customers. So Paul alluded to the current iterations started in 2007 with the Marine Corps 4PL stores. We've been operating ServMarts on their previous models for several decades, historically providing office products, moving into hardware and tools, and recently into more of the maintenance, repair, and operation supplies and services. You see the bottom graphic off to your right there, what 4PL is. As Paul alluded to, we've grown significantly over the last several years with 30+ new locations supporting a large enterprise customer. And as I've gone around to intro the 4PL program and what that means to the maintainers and the supply chain personnel, we've developed an analogy of a grocery store. So if you visit the grocery store at 6 o'clock in the morning, like I often do, you'll see the Coke distributor, the Pepsi distributor, the Frito-Lay distributor, the Bed distributor, all stocking the shelves. But when you pay for the product, you are buying it from that grocer. That is essentially how a 4PL program operates. We operate the store shelf. And the store, it's our business processes between the customer and GSA. We in turn have contracts with our vendors and role you play to not only stock the shelves, merchandise the products that the customers need, but also offer a customer service element incorporated in 4PL SIN to help our customers identify the products they need, what we have to offer them to improve their operations and be that complete supply chain solution to them. We have essentially two models to the 4PL program, and it's tailored to each customer. No two 4PL stores are exactly alike. One is the brick and mortar store, a traditional ServMart operation, if you will. There's shopping carts and cash registers up front, shelves and racking in the back for some bulk material of supplies and materials that our customers need. The end user, the servicemen will come in with their shopping cart. They'll and the shopping list. They'll pick what they need off the shelves. So go to the counter and check out. We will in turn bill the customer after they walk away with the material. So those are tailored to the local customers on base. Any customer can use the store, and the product offering is tailored to that particular market. The other model is an issue point or tool room. These are largely tailored to industrial operations, such as aircraft maintenance depots, vehicle maintenance depots, facilities management operations, shipyards and boatyards, designed to support the needs of that individual customer. So many of those operations are integrated within the depot, so there is no checkout counter or shopping carts. We're often behind the fence line, security fence line, not open to regular customer-based traffic. It's dedicated to supporting that customer, and we become a key part of their material supply chain, providing commercial off-the-shelf production support material, as they term it, so they can focus on the aircraft parts or the vehicle maintenance parts and getting the work done that they need to do. So next slide, please. So the operations branch is divided into two sections. We have a CONUS section and an OCONUS section. CONUS section operates 50 plus stores, as you see indicated there, within the lower 48 continental United States. Some of our customers have multiple issue points within their territory or their AOR. They are regionally aligned with individual issue points and tool rooms on those customer operations. We do have majority of our CONUS operations are of the issue point model. We do have some brick and mortar locations, largely supporting the Marine Corps within CONUS. We also have operations supporting the Executive Office of the President outside DC and the Coast Guard Yard in Baltimore, as well as some arsenals and some depots and some facilities maintenance activities. Next slide, please. This is the map of our OCONUS operations overseas. So you see we have a store up in Anchorage at the Joint Base Elmendorf Richardson there, and Hickam on Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. Those are two of our oldest stores and the largest traditional ServMart operations with shopping carts and a large customer base and checkout counters up front. We also have other stores in Hawaii supporting the Marine Corps and other Navy customers. We also have stores in Guam, Korea, supporting the Air Force largely, as well as some Army activities and some other units in the peninsula. And we have a large presence in Japan as well, as you see there. We have 2 new stores coming online in the next couple of months in Japan. And as you see over in Europe, we're moving back into Europe with 2 stores planned in Italy in the next couple of years as well. So a large customer base and playing a critical piece in the supply chain for our customers around the world. We also have a virtual ServMart for our Marine Corps customer, enables to order online products for some of their units that are remote or otherwise unable to visit the stores in person. Next slide, please. Here's an overview of the highlights of the supply chain solution that I mentioned earlier. GSA serves as a single entity to manage the acquisition, the storage and merchandising, delivery and billing aspects of the solution to our customers. So we're all in the acquisition of our vendor partners to play a piece in that role, the procurement of the items, the financial integration. So the customer is buying the material from GSA. It's a government-to-government transaction, transfer between federal agencies. It's a quicker and easier process for them. And then we in turn manage the acquisition piece, buying the materials and supplies to fill those orders from our vendor partners. So we're also integrated with some of our enterprise customers where the transactions are provided daily. We capture their job order number, their shop number, et cetera, to give them the complete supply chain solution integrated within those facilities as well. We also manage the day-to-day operations across the enterprise. No 2 stores work alike. We work closely with our customers to anticipate their demands, to plan for their exercises and BOM or kit materials in support of those exercises. We're also positioned to support planned maintenance events with some of our industrial customers, support larger exercise, the Rim of Pacific exercise in Hawaii, surging material, and products to support the ships that are visiting Hawaii and other commands participating in those exercises, and other exercises and events across our footprint in support of our customers. We also stock material on the shelves to support our customers. We operate on a vendor-managed, vendor-consigned inventory concept, so the vendor owns the material to the point of sale. We do have, and that looks based on customer demand. So it may look differently at different operations. Some stores we have a dedicated stocking list that the vendor has to meet as the baseline. Some beyond that requirements, the vendor is able to flow material in to support those requirements. And they're part of that planning process and customer outreach as well as included in our program. Commodity management, we've continued to grow to support our customers' needs as they mature. And last, data analytics and reporting. So we are manufacturer part number based, and we capture all sales in our point of sale system. So not uncommon for any new customer when we ask for historical demand, they may have the same item in their disparate systems, 15 different ways. It's very hard to get a single picture of what they spent their money on exactly. With our point of sale system, our reporting and metrics, we have exact part number and quantity that can be filtered down to the shop level and the user as to who ordered it. So it's a tremendous capability we provide to our customers with our reporting capability through our point of sale systems. Next slide. Here's a graphic of the process, commercial inefficiencies, best government practices. It's one of our mantras. We only own one store physically. The rest are in partnership with our DOD or DHS or federal customer with the agreement to operate the store in their spaces. The store location is tailored to those customers. As I mentioned, some are a full brick and mortar store. Some are an issue points. We can have anywhere between a couple hundred items on the shelf to several thousand. And beyond that, the customer has reach back capability to the tens of thousands or 100,000 items on the vendor's catalog. So it's truly a tailable solution. We have virtual catalogs, both GSA's systems, as well as some of our vendor systems have online catalogs indicating what's on the catalog. And the backend support is largely GSA. So the order processing and the order billing rests with GSA. We've managed the acquisition piece, the payment through our vendors, as well as collecting payment from our customers. And we also manage the reporting, which I alluded to. It allows our customers to leverage GSA's contracting and acquisition expertise, allow them to focus on their core missions and operations. Next slide. All right, some more detail on what the government best practices means and some examples of which intergovernmental department billing, which I had mentioned. So a couple primary purchase options for our customers, DOD DODAC mill strip, so processing requisitions, a much more efficient means for the agency to procure material than some other contracting or purchase card options. We do accept the purchase card as well as MEPRs, MORDs, and G-invoicing for some customers. Integrated systems, as I mentioned, financial data is captured at the enterprise level. We also provide data with point of sale data back to our customer directly to some of their systems. We have management reports and spend analytics and help them influence their planning and operations and budgeting. And because we aggregate our stores into a large requirement, we're able to negotiate some greater price discounts over a traditional retail model or single purchases. And all FAR compliance, TAA, Trade Agreement Act compliance, Section 889 compliance, that rests with GSA. We're also able to help customers divest inventory ownership and management. As I mentioned, some of the customers, we have as few as a couple hundred items on the shelf to some of our larger stores have several thousand items on the shelf. Ability to requisition those materials and leveraging the commercial vendors, distribution centers, and replenishment capabilities, and the ease of ordering via requisitions, we're able to reduce our inventory footprint. And in many locations, we've been able to return square footage over previous models they had, being able to return those back to production or other uses on the base. So tremendous capability and program leveraging the capabilities of our vendor partners. And next slide, I believe this is our last slide. Commercial practices, as I mentioned, we offer the benefit of products specialists to support the requirements. So on-site product expertise, as I alluded to the grocery store example, is not only shopping the shelves and merchandising products that the customers need, it's also that local expert in the store. And for many of our vendors, it's a reach back with their manufacturer relationships to get the industry experts as well. We have numerous examples of where the outside eye with our program has taken a look at operations and suggested and offered cost savings or efficiency initiatives to opportunities to our customers. From changing the saw blade that's used to a new one that'll last longer. It may cost more, but it'll offer savings over the long run due to longer use. We also have referral order facilitation with on-site product experts that can help the customer identify the product that they're looking for, whether it's on the catalog. They can help provide availability timeframes to support their requirements. And you have reached back to not only the 2,000 items in store, but the 10 or 100,000 items on the vendor's catalog. There's a wider range of products available because we are manufacturer or part number based. They have access to the full catalog of offering. They're also, customers are able to add products with anticipated demand as well. And the greater flexibility in making product line changes to support their requirements because we are a manufacturer part number based. And we also have some technical capabilities that our vendors provide. We have an online catalog that many of our vendors provide, which has technical specifications, as well as we have products in the GSA store portal for some of our customers to order directly there. We're able to leverage and utilize our vendors' capabilities to support our customers' requirements and eliminate expenses supported with inventory management. We put that onus on the vendor. They're incentivized to carry the right products and have it available at the right time. And we're able to leverage their supply chains and distribution centers to support our customer requirements. So that is an overview of the 4PL program. And I will turn it over to Aletha from the Mass Facilities and Hardware Branch for an update on the 4PL SIN. Thank you.
Hello, this is Aletha Pelham. I think actually slide 10 is also yours, Brad, about industry experts and on-site expertise. Maybe you already
Sure. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think I touched upon most of these. So as I mentioned, our vendors provide vendor-owned and vendor-managed inventory, maintain that at the agreed-upon levels. 91% overseas, 98% in within our CONUS operations. And as mentioned, they've had to fulfill not only items on the shelf, but those who are carried in the catalog offering. And I did mention the on-site expertise. Not only do we help them order the products, we facilitate product returns, maintenance critical never out items, back order for order management for some longer lead time items. And we had keeping the customer informed when the supply chain challenges during COVID, offering available alternatives for some of the items that were longer lead time. So with that, now I will turn it over to Aletha. Thanks.
All right, next slide, please. Okay, so I am Aletha Pelham, and I am the contracting officer on many of the contracts that currently have the 4PL SIN. I'm just going to go over some information that you need to know about the 4PL SIN at the mass schedule level. So many of you probably already have a GSA schedule, and if you do, you're probably aware of how to modify your contract. But if you're not, you would need to submit a modification through the eMod system, and follow the requirements as outlined on the modification guidelines and checklists. So this would be an add sin mod. There's specific information on the modification guidelines and checklists for add sin mods that will step you through that process. There's also many helpful templates on that website to help you know what exactly to submit, cover letters, that type of thing. And you would need to submit a price proposal template. Those are also on that website. So you would find all of that information there. And as you can see in the slides, we have lots of links to that information as well. If you have questions about that process that you can't figure out when you go into here, you can always, of course, reach out to your GSA contract specialist or your contracting officer for your specific contract. If you don't currently have a mass contract and you want to submit an offer, then you would do that through the e-offer system. The link is here to see what that process is. We would suggest that you read all of that information and also make sure that you read the entire solicitation and especially the information specifically about the 4PL SIN. If you decide to submit an offer, you just need to be aware of all of the things that are required to hold a GSA scheduled contract and how you maintain compliance with that. So just make sure that you're aware of that. If you have any questions about that as you go through and review that information, you can reach out to the National Customer Service Center or Doug Nelson. That information is right here. Or you can always reach out to me as well, and I will try to assist you in any way I can. If I don't know the answer, I probably can find someone that can help me figure out the answer. So next slide, please. So just a little information about the 4PL SIN and some background. GSA developed the 4PL SIN in 2020 and included it in the mass solicitation. Having this dedicated SIN has assisted retail operations and the mass acquisition workforce in streamlining the process and making it easier to manage the items on the SIN and meet the needs of the federal agency and the federal agency customer. So there's not a lot of contractors that currently hold this SIN. As you can see, there's 7 right now, and 3 of those are small businesses, and 4 of those are other than small businesses. So next slide. The scope of the SIN includes all commercially available fourth-party logistics delivery models required for a full solution and includes, at a minimum, providing the product, logistical support, transportation, inventory management, and all other services necessary to support the 4PL operations. So there's 2 different operation models. One of those, the first one, is vendor managed inventory services, or VMI. These are services such as resupply of designated items by the vendor through regularly scheduled reviews of on-site inventory counts, removal of damaged or outdated goods, and the restocking of inventory to predetermined levels at their specified locations, and customer support. The other one is vendor consigned inventory, so BCI. And these are services where products will be entrusted to GSA or another ordering agency if there is one, and are under the control and custody of GSA or that ordering agency while they're stocked at the 4PL locations. Delivery for both of these models is included, but not limited to, brick and mortar retail storefronts, tool rooms, and issue points, virtual serve marts, satellite locations, in-store referral ordering, direct delivery, and online catalogs. The SIN, if you are looking for it specifically on the solicitation when you're doing your research to determine if you want to add the SIN or submit an offer, is located under the large category attachment of miscellaneous, and then the subcategory in that attachment of complementary SINs. If you have any issues finding it, again, you can reach out to the NCSC or you can reach out to me and I can help you with that. This SIN is TD are eligible. If you have questions about that, you can let me know. But it's TDR eligible, and it's not open to cooperative purchasing, and it is not a set-aside SIN. Next slide. So the requirements of this SIN include the items must represent a full and broad catalog offering. So the solicitation defines this as that the offerer must provide a full and broad array of proposed products and services. An offerer will not be accepted with limited product service offerings unless it represents a total solution or proposed product service offering. Now, if you are confused about that, which you might very well be, again, reach out to me. You can send me a list of the products that you're going to offer, that you think you would be offering, and I can look at those and help you with that as well. The items need to be within scope of one of the existing mass SINs. So, for example, we have a hardware store SIN. Many of you are probably familiar with that SIN. A cleaning product SIN, an office product SIN. So the items that you offer under 4PL have to be within the scope of a SIN that's currently on the GSA schedule contract. They do not have to be awarded under one of those SINs. So that's kind of a difference there. They just have to be within scope, but you don't have to have them awarded under the hardware store SIN as well as the 4PL SIN. The items have to be commercial in nature, and obviously they must meet all of the mass requirements. Next slide. When you're submitting your information to add the SIN or to get an offer, you need to make sure that you indicate the operational model of the products that you're offering. So you maybe are only going to offer products under the BMI model. Then you would submit a PPT just showing that you are offering items under the BMI model. If you're both, you would need to share, or you would need to add a PPT, one for the BMI and one for the BCI. So just make sure that you keep them separate, because the pricing may be different. The pricing may be the same. That's, of course, up to you and your business model and practices, but we need to see them separately. All pricing has to be fully burdened and inclusive of product, service, and freight, and it must be firm fixed price. The delivery requirements under the 4PL SIN are FOB destination. Next slide. So all items submitted for addition or EPA under the SIN are currently run through our 4P system. I know that's confusing, 4PL, 4P. But the 4P system is a market research tool that we utilize here at GSA. Many of you may be familiar with it, as well as the SPELL tool, which is the standard pricing evaluation logic tool. If you currently have the 4PL SIN or a GSA contract where you sell products, you've probably been aware of those two systems. So we utilize those tools to help us determine market research on the contract. We've currently added recently the SPELL pricing algorithm to the 4P tool. So that's supposed to all be included in that. You may have contracting officers or contract specialists that still utilize the 4P as well as the SPELL tool. That's up to them. So that may happen, but we're trying to get it all into one system, and we're working towards that. The tools include a number of pricing data points as well as demand data that's utilized to analyze what's out there in the market and develop a 4P market threshold. This tool also helps us in identifying compliance and data integrity issues. So your CS and CO will work with you when that report comes back to address any pricing issues or any compliance issues prior to approving the modification. Next slide. So in addition to the 4P tool, the GSA recognizes that there may be times when 4P doesn't find market research. So if you currently have a contract, I'm sure you have run into this issue. This could be because the item is new to the market, or maybe the item just hasn't been sold to GSA and we have limited amount of information available in order to determine if it's within market threshold or if it's even compliant. So to address the areas where there may be no market research, we have developed a random sampling approach. So the CS or CO identifies 69 items, and it's never going to be more than 69 items. It could possibly be less. We did a lot of research internally to come up with a number that was manageable for our contractors to provide that market research to us. And we thought this number was good. Plus, it also gives the CO or the CS a 90% confidence level with a 10% margin of error that the full list of items then can be determined fair and reasonable. So that's how we came up with that number. The CO and the CS, the acquisition workforce, use two different websites to come up with that number. So if you submit, like if you maybe only have submitted 100 items, you would probably have less than 69 items that you have to provide your market research on. And they would go to that website that helps us come up with a 90% confidence level and the 10% margin of error to figure out how many items we need for that sample to have that level of confidence. So it could be less, but it should never be more. We've done it like multi-million lists of items, and it's always been 69. So they will use that website, and then they'll use a website that generates the random list of lines that we need the items to be provided the market research on. So you'll get all of that information in a spreadsheet, and the contractor can then provide the market research on that spreadsheet back to the contracting officer, contract specialist. There's many different ways that you can provide that information. So you can either provide information that compares your current pricing to those of your competitors. We generally ask for 2 or 3 comparison prices. We for sure need to have at least 2. We would prefer to have 3. You can provide your cost and your buildup on a different portion of that spreadsheet to show us that your pricing is fair and reasonable. Or you can provide invoices in the commercial market or to other federal agencies to help us in making that fair and reasonable determination. Again, you'll work closely with your contracting officer and your contract specialist while they review this information and while they and you work to make the pricing determination and make sure that it's fair and reasonable. Also, the CO and the CS work very closely with the retail operations team to assist in making this fair and reasonable determination. So there may be a point where we run into a roadblock and we can't figure it out between the two of us, or the contracting officer maybe doesn't have enough information. So they will reach out to the retail operations team and see if they have any information that they can provide to us to help us in making that fair and reasonable determination. So that's that. Next slide. So we have run into some things that come up as we go through this process. One thing is that we'll run into duplicate items, and these duplicate items maybe show up on the 4P report as not having market research, and that's generally because it's the same item that maybe does have market research, but there's options for that item. So that item has a different color or a different size. So that item, for whatever reason, is not showing up as having market research. We're working with the systems to better address this type of situation. So trying to add options and accessories and that type of thing to 4P and figure out how to match those up. But until that is completed, we have determined that if you have market research on the main item, and you can show us that the other items that have no market research are the same or comparable to that main item and only differ because of size or color, that type of thing, we will utilize the market research that we have on the main item and utilize that to make a determination for the rest of those items to be fair and reasonable. So that is actually the end of my slides, I'm pretty sure. And I think maybe now it's break time. Everybody loves break time. Is anybody from retail ops gonna, or should we just go to break? Are we good?
We're ahead of schedule. Why don't we take 5 minutes and then we'll jump into the next topic here. Again, just a reminder that this event is being recorded. The recording, briefs, and slide deck, along with questions and answers, will be posted to the internet page within the next 2 weeks. If you do have any questions, reminder, put them in the chat box, and we will have a question and answer period at the end of this brief. I'd like to turn it over to Carolyn Long for an acquisition update. Carolyn?
All right. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Good morning, depending on where you are. Welcome to our industry day today. If you're not familiar with our acquisition team here in DC, my name is Carolyn Long. I'm the branch chief for the 4PL acquisition team. So my team and I are responsible for setting up the BPAs, blanket purchase agreements, as well as any other task orders or acquisition support that the 4PL program needs in order to open up the stores and be successful. So a large part of what we do is we actually order off of the 4PL SIN. So you just heard from Aletha on what the 4PL SIN entails, how it's set up, and what the requirements are. Well, our team here takes it a step further with the specific RFQs that we issue to the 4PL SIN. As Aletha mentioned, there's about 7 vendors currently under that SIN. So when we issue RFIs and RFQs to the 4PL SIN community, we're asking industry to review our requirements and provide quotes for future awards. So our next round of major RFQs that we will be posting, we will be branding as Next Gen 2. So our first round of 4PL BPAs that we issued against the 4PL SIN, as Aletha mentioned, we only created that SIN in 2020, so we're about 4 years in. This second round of recompetes will be called Next Gen 2. So if you're a 4PL vendor or someone interested in the 4PL program, that is a term you will see on many of our RFIs and RFQs in the coming couple of fiscal years as we get these recompetes underway. The first one I'd like to talk about this afternoon is the U.S. Navy Next Gen 2 requirement. So currently we have a BPA in support of the U.S. Navy. We cover about over 50 locations in CONUS. In this new iteration, in this new RFQ that we'll be posting, we're also going to expand into 3 OCONUS locations. So the current BPA began in March of 2026. I'm sorry, will end in March of 2026. And that is when we will need to have a new award in place. We are expecting that the new Navy Next Gen 2 BPA will be a FAR 8 BPA with a base period of 1 year and 4 one-year option periods. The estimated value for this BPA will be delineated further in the RFI that we plan to release at the end of this fiscal year, towards the end of this fiscal year, sometime in the 4th quarter, so later this summer. That RFI will include more detailed information than that you can see here. It will also include our estimated value. As it stands today, the legacy BPA had an estimated value at time of award of about $950 million in expected sales over its entire 5-year period of performance. So a very large BPA. Jim, if you could put your question in the chat box, we'll get to it in further slides a little later. So what I'd like you all to do is watch eBuy for both the request for information as well as future RFQs. We also ask that you watch the GSA Interact page. I'm going to provide a link to that GSA 4PL Interact page a little bit later in this presentation. As Vanessa already mentioned too, we will be posting these slides to our Interact page, which is a public-facing web page. And you can watch that for both our announcements on, hey, industry, we've posted an RFI. Response dates are due XYZ. And then we'll also use that Interact page to alert you that we've also posted the future RFQ. So the anticipated locations that we expect to be supporting under this Navy Next Gen 2 requirement will cover the Naval Facility Command and COMFRC, supporting mostly the Navy Public Works departments and the Fleet Readiness Centers. I mentioned earlier, we're expecting about 50 plus CONUS locations, which also include Guam and Hawaii. And in this new RFQ, we are also expecting to expand into OCONUS under the same BPA, and we are expecting 3 OCONUS locations to be under this RFQ. So Aletha mentioned there's a lot of different types of 4PL configurations, and that is something that we kind of customize here in our acquisition team. So, Aletha's group sets up the base for us, that 4PL SIN that gives us many different options, right? But then what my team does from there is we have a customer requirement. In this case, it's the Navy, based on what they need. We work with the 4PL team, the program office, Brad and Paul, et cetera. We work with them to determine what types of 4PL storefronts, issue points, what the configuration is that each of these customers under the BPA will need. So that's going to be laid out for you all in the RFQ itself. We also hope to have a lot of this information included in the RFI as well. But as it stands today, and this is all subject to change, we're expecting around 4 brick and mortar storefront locations. And then the remaining locations will be what we call tool rooms and issue points, which are smaller than a brick and mortar location. And they're usually set up closer to production lines or where our customers need ready items right there stocked. And they're smaller scale than a true brick and mortar store. We also allow, and this is included in the RFQs that you all will see, we also allow for satellite locations to be activated should that be needed. Satellite locations are generally associated with a parent store, and we delineate all of this in the RFQ. So we'll have usually a separate attachment that talks about all of the locations that we're planning to support under this BPA. And if there are satellite locations we need to support, that will be included as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide covers the top selling items that we have sold under this existing BPA. Again, this is the Navy Next Gen. This is something to kind of keep aware of for our Next Gen 2 requirement, which will come out later this year. The top selling items from fiscal year 2023 under the Naval Facilities Engineering Systems Command were carpet tile, wall-based molding, LED tube lights, and pleated air filters. For our Pacific Rim Navy customers, their top selling items were file folders, mesh partitions, military logbooks, document protectors, binders, and copy paper. Through our Naval Shipyard customers, they bought a lot of vinyl flooring, safety glasses, steel rebar, waterproof tape, and LED headlamps. And finally, for our COMFRC customers, which stands for Commander Fleet Readiness Centers, they bought a lot of foam drawer inserts, sanding conditioning discs, glass beads, earplugs, and acrylic scrapers. Next slide, please. All right, so shortly after the Navy RFI is released, you will then be seeing an RFI for our next large customer, which is the United States Marine Corps. We will also be calling this the Next Gen 2 procurement. Some details here. This is, again, like the Navy slide, all subject to change. But we are expecting to have a new Marine Corps BPA up and running by July 2026. It is expected that will be a FAR 8 BPA with a 1-year base period and 4 1-year option periods. So very similar to the Navy award. The estimated value will be further delineated in the RFI and RFQ, but as it stands today, we are expecting sales to be similar to the Navy, around $950 million over the entire 5-year period of performance. So you saw earlier that the RFI for the Navy will come out later this summer. We are expecting that the RFI for the Marine Corps effort to come out after that in the first quarter of fiscal year 2025. Again, the way to keep on top of this and watch for this opportunity is to watch eBuy and watch our GSA 4PL Interact page, which I will again provide a link to at the end of this presentation. That's where we'll announce RFIs and RFQs. Anticipated locations under this Marine Corps Next Gen 2 requirement, we are expecting around 20 plus CONUS locations to include Hawaii, and 2 locations overseas, which we are planning to be in Japan. As I mentioned, for the Navy requirement, this requirement also will show you in the RFQ what kind of 4PL configuration we need at each of these locations. So we will, we are able to customize this for our customer based on the, available configurations under the SIN. But as it stands today, which is subject to change, we are expecting 10 brick and mortar locations. We are expecting 11 tool rooms / issue points / hazmat locations, which again are smaller scale than our brick and mortar stores. We are also expecting a virtual store, 1 virtual store in support of this requirement. And also, just like the Navy, we will allow for satellite locations to be included as part of our 4PL configurations for this customer. And all of that will be outlined in the RFQ. All right, next slide. So these were the top selling products by quantity in fiscal year 2023 for these Marine Corps locations. So at our 29 Palms location, top selling items were file folders, construction stakes, award binders, air filters, and regular filters. At Albany, tool lanyards, coagulants, zip ties, dog tags, and military paints. At Barstow, tool lanyards, toolbox foam, cleaners, cutoff wheels, and part cleaners. At Camp Butler, award binders, sandbags, folders, smoke alarms, and document protectors. At Camp Pendleton, award binders, file folders, accounting books, liquid carbon dioxide, and protectors, document protectors. At Iwakuni, award binders, protectors, accounting books, file folders, and lumber. At K-Bay, award binders, batteries, file folders, light bulbs, tarps, and protectors. Camp Lejeune, award binders, folders, lanyards, leather patches, accounting books. At our Quantico location, award binders, crusher fines, light bulbs, accounting books, and paper. We have mentioned before that industrial products are a big piece of our program, but we also have a lot of office needs. So a lot of office products fall under these RFQs as well. Under the virtual serve mart, under the Marine Corps, award binders, cut washers, bolts, protectors, and accounting books. Under UMA, air filters, leather patches, pleat filters, regular filters, and award binders. All right, next slide, please. Okay, our third and final major recompete that we're planning in the next fiscal year is for the United States Coast Guard. So currently we have a 4PL Next Gen, our legacy Next Gen Coast Guard BPA, which supports primarily our customers in Baltimore. We will be planning a recompete of this award later this year. Our performance start date for the new award, we'd like to get this BPA started and up and running by July 2026. That will be for a base 1-year period and 4 1-year option periods. So it will also be a FAR 8 BPA like the Navy and the Marine Corps. The estimated value will be $38 million over its 5-year period of performance. And the anticipated RFI release date will be again in the first quarter of 2025, similar to the Marine Corps timeline. You can watch for this RFI through eBuy and our Interact page, our 4PL Interact page. And we have one CONUS location in support of this BPA. And we have several referral order or online orders support. So we have one physical issue point, and then we have 22 referral order locations that support this BPA. Again, the 4PL configuration will be specified in the RFQ, and it will be based on the Coast Guard's need and what they require. The top selling items by quantity for fiscal year 2023 for the U.S. Coast Guard were safety glasses, paint pail liners, acid brushes, quart paper containers, and electric black tape. Next slide, please. Okay, so in the registration link that you all received, there was a field for questions. We received 6 questions in writing. So what I'm going to do first is go through those 6 questions and GSA's response. And then the next slide we have will be for the questions that we've received in the chat. We are quite ahead of schedule today, so we have plenty of time for questions. I just ask that if you have questions, you put them in the chat now, so that by the time I get through this slide and get to the questions from today's meeting, we can get your question answered. As we mentioned before, we will post this deck, which includes this question and answer slide, as well as the questions we get during the call today. That will be posted to our Interact page. We are going to post that by May 6th, by the end of the day on May 6th. So you can look there for all of this in writing, as well as we've provided you all a lot of hyperlinks here, a lot of eMod support that Aletha sent you, and a lot of web pages that we've referenced. So all of that can be accessed in this deck. Okay, with that, I will get started with the first written submitted question. Does 4PL require every mass contract holder to have all offers under their GSA contract published products or OLM open market acceptable? It's a little fuzzy on exactly what was being asked here, so we'll give it our best shot. The 4PL program currently requires all mass products under any 4PL BPA to first be added under the 4PL SIN at the mass level. Currently, we do not have OLM or open market purchases allowed under the 4PL program. The second question, how to become a mass 4PL SIN holder, how to work as a subcontractor with the existing 4PL contractor. So that was a question submitted from a vendor. Our answer is existing GSA mass contract holders may submit and add a SIN modification via the eMod link I've provided here. Please use the modification page for your guide that includes a checklist starting on page 24. The price proposal template spreadsheet, the sample cover letters, and all of those documents can be found there. You may also visit the eMod Help Center for more information. And please reach out to other 4PL SIN holders if your company is interested in becoming a subcontractor with any existing 4PL vendors. GSA does not get into that business. That's very much a vendor decision process. The third question, will GSA prioritize USA-made products versus Trade Agreement Act compliant products? Shouldn't an edge be provided for USA-made products? Our answer to this is that the Trade Agreements Act, the TAA, is incorporated into the mass contract for the majority of SINs. Only set-aside SINs are subject to the Buy American Act, or the BAA. As Aletha already mentioned earlier, the 4PL SIN is not a set-aside SIN. The Trade Agreements Act does not give an edge to US-made products. It waives the Buy America Act for eligible products from countries that have signed an international trade agreement with the United States or that meet other criteria. Okay, question number 4. Can this be posted under hardware SINs or etc.? Any SIN that we are going to require to support the needs of our military customers will be delineated in the RFI and or the RFQs. However, it is anticipated at this time that the 4PL SIN will be the SIN used for all of our RFQs. Question number 5 was, is this a BPA? Yes, it is. The requirements that I mentioned for the Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Coast Guard, we anticipate that all of those requirements will be FAR 8 BPAs. Question number 6, how soon will this be funded? So because this is a BPA, BPAs are not funded at the time of the award of the BPA itself. Rather, they are funded at the purchase order level, and there are no minimums associated with these BPAs. There are also no guarantees of sales under these BPAs. All right. At this point, we have a few questions that came in. I believe at this point, Brad, we should take a 10-minute quick break here, go over the questions received, and then we can respond to those questions. I'll take those questions in the next 10 minutes. Does that work for everyone?
Sounds good. So we'll meet at 1:12 Eastern time. We'll reconvene and go through the remainder of the questions.
All right. And if you have questions, now is the time. So any questions not received by 1:12 Eastern, we will not be able to answer during today's briefing. We will be able, however, to provide the written answer and post it with a slide deck by May 6th on our Interact page. All right, we'll see you in 10 minutes. Here I have 1:12 p.m. Eastern. So we have huddled to go over the questions we received in the chat. And I think we've captured every question that came in the chat. So let's start with the first one. Please share Ms. Aletha's contact information. Yep, we have provided her email there. Again, you don't need to jot this down. We will be posting this to the Interact page by May 6th. The second question received today, during the market research phase or process, the item you are looking for may be current on all information, but due to COVID, a lot of prices are fluctuating. At the time of research, the price could be accurate, but how will the system help if the price changes? So we took a stab at what we think this question is asking. The pricing tools that we mentioned earlier in the presentation, the 4P, the price point portal, and the SPEL, the pricing evaluation logic pricing tools are updated regularly based on market conditions. So they have been updated many, many times since the start of the COVID pandemic. However, you can be assured that the data that we're bouncing this against is based on accurate current market data. But as we've mentioned, we have other alternatives should we not turn back any market research or the market research results are not commensurate with what your company is saying the pricing should be. We've mentioned that random sampling exercise. We've mentioned the market research spreadsheet where you can provide a cost breakdown. You can provide comparison items. You can provide invoicing data, that sort of thing. So we have many options beyond just these tools that we can talk to you about. If you have to work very closely with your Mass CO and CS based on what the current situation is. And so if you do need to submit a price change mod or an EPA mod to change the price, you would do that like you would under any other SIN. You'd submit that through the eMod system. And then the Mass CO will use current market research tools, like I just mentioned, to compare your new EPA price to the current market. And again, you're always going to be encouraged to have market research ready to send to GSA should you be asked for it, especially if you know that you're going to have a bucket of items that are going to go through the random sampling process. That is where Aletha and her team will really look to you to help document a lot of the things we mentioned on invoices or cost breakdowns. And as she mentioned too, there's other folks in the 4PL team here in DC that are ready and willing to help with other tools we have to help get those items added at a fair and reasonable price. But any concerns on any specific items you might have or nuances specific to any items that you are trying to add or modify, make sure to be very, communication is key with your Mass CO and CS to let them know what the nuances are of that item so that they can take a look and engage with us and with you as necessary. So the third question, we weren't quite sure what this question was asking. I will provide our response, and then whoever asked this question is welcome to come off mute if you'd like you'd like to clarify what happened when we can provide only partial items. So under these BPAs, BPA holders are required to fulfill complete purchase orders of commercial items. We don't have a partial item allowance under this BPA. And I'm not quite sure what that means. So again, if we haven't answered this, please feel free to come off mute and if you want to ask this question again. Okay, I'm not hearing anyone, so we'll move on. We received a question to comment on how the 4PL program includes and supports the Ability One program. So yes, this really could be a whole nother briefing on our support to the with the Ability One program. So for those of you who are not aware, the Ability One program is a government-run program, and we have many partners that we work with under the National Institutes of the Blind, and we work with them to establish FAR 13 BPAs in order to complement our offerings. So sometimes the 4PL SIN is not it's never going to be 100% solution, but sometimes we feel that there needs to be a complementary ordering capacity provided to our customers. So in those cases, the acquisition team sets up FAR 13 BPAs. These are sole source BPAs to the vendor who is on site operating a BSC or base supply center. These are totally separate from the 4PL SIN BPA storefronts. But there are many cases where some of these vendors also hold a 4PL SIN under the schedules program, which is separate from their base supply center storefront and different catalogs and different scope and that sort of thing. But we do want to make sure that we're not, competing with or stepping on the toes of any of our Ability One stores. So in those cases where we have, a need to have a complementary offering, we look to partner with the vendor on base who is currently operating that base supply center. All right, at this point, I believe that is all of the questions we've received. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so this slide contains several of the links we talked about today. The link to GSA eBuy if you're unfamiliar, the link to our GSA 4PL Interact page. Please subscribe to become a member so that you can get alerts via email on any traffic or any postings that we've put on that activity feed. There's also a link here to the 4PL SIN itself. You can learn more about it on GSA Advantage. And then there's also a link here to our program office, the 4PL program, also known as the Customer Supply Center program. And this is our About page right there. And then finally, as we've mentioned several times, these slides will be posted by May 6th at the end of business on May 6th. At this time, we can open it. So we've got plenty of time and we can certainly end early. I know you all have lots to do. So at this point, if there are any other questions, we'd be happy to take them now if you'd like to go off mute and ask any questions you have.
Carolyn, we did really just receive one additional question. Can you comment on how the 4PL contracts incorporate and support the Ability One program?
Did we not answer that one already? Or is that separate? Okay. Similar to the one above. I see. Okay. Incorporate instability. Okay, sure. So in addition to the FAR 13 BPAs that we issue separate that I mentioned, 4PL BPA holders are required to be authorized distributors of Ability One products. We hold them to, very high standards. They are mass they are mass contractors. So they are not allowed to provide essentially the same products. We have some auditing techniques we put in place to make sure of that. And again, they have to be, it's a very, they have to be authorized distributors of Ability One products, so that we don't violate any of those regulations. Okay, we have another question. How do you transact sales against your 4PL SIN if you are not an awardee of one of these BPAs? Okay, so in order to receive a purchase order under the 4PL SIN, you will need to first be a 4PL BPA holder. So currently, as it stands today, we do not publicize or post the 4PL catalog on Advantage. So if you are a customer, you are not, if you're a regular federal buyer, you're not able to buy off of the 4PL SIN as you would on several of our other SINs, where you can add it to cart and purchase, place a purchase order that way. GSA is the fourth party here that, creates the fourth party logistics program. So as Brad Vetting mentioned, it is a requisition program. So first, GSA must set up an actual BPA with your firm, and then we will need to place purchase orders under that BPA, and we will requisition those products to the customer. So I hope that has answered your question. If not, please let me know. Okay.
Hey, Carolyn, this is Paul. Can you comment too? I know we're partnered with Ability One at large, but on the NIB side as well as Source America. Can you comment on Source America side as well?
Yes, absolutely. So on the Source America side of the house, we have several contracts in place that are for cashier support services or other types of administrative type of support services that Paul's team needs in order to run our stores effectively. So if there is a Source America vendor on the procurement list for a type of service that we require, again, I say cashier because that's kind of that's a common one we have. We do go directly to that Source America vendor and we establish a contract with them. We don't compete that effort for services. We make sure to follow and collaborate, work with the vendor who is on the procurement list. And those vendors are, for every location that we've ever needed to set up a contract for a type of service that is handled by the Source America group, we've been successful in setting up a contract with them. Typically, those are 1-year base period contracts with 4 1-year option periods.
Thanks.
Okay, I think we can maybe wait, Brad, 1 more minute, and then I can turn it back over to you and Paul to close us out. I'm not seeing any more questions come in. If you have any, please let us know now.
Hey, Carolyn, additionally, after the meeting, if there are any additional questions, if you want to send those to the GSA Interact inbox, we can include those. I will be tracking any questions that come forward.
Yeah, and if you choose to do that, I would just say we need to get this deck posted by the end of the day on May 6th. So request that you do so by the end of business tomorrow, April 24th. So if you do have questions that come up over the next 24 hours, you can submit them as Vanessa mentioned, but any questions received after close of business tomorrow, we won't be able to incorporate in this deck. So you can hold those questions though for the RFI, request for information period. We would definitely like to be hearing from you in writing when we issue those RFIs. So just keep that in mind that we do ask for any written questions by the end of day tomorrow, please.
Okay, thanks, Callan. Not seeing any more questions. Appreciate everyone's time today. I'll turn it over to Paul for some closing comments. Paul?
Hey, thanks, Brad. Again, first and foremost, I'd like to express my appreciation to everyone who took precious time out of their schedules today to participate in the 4PL Industry Day. I'd also like to thank Brad Vetting, Operations Manager, Aletha Pelham on the multiple award schedule side of the house, and Carolyn Long, Special Contracting Team for educating and informing everyone about the program and opportunities that are coming up. Again, the intent today is pretty straightforward, inform the vendor base, grow interest in the 4PL program and upcoming opportunities out there. From the government side, again, our mission is to make it easy to do business with you, the vendor base, while providing a best value, fully compliant requisition solution to address the mission needs of our customers. For those of you who have been partnering with us over the years, trust today's session renewed your interest. And for those new to the program, I trust we piqued your interest in helping support the missions, some of the greatest customers in the world. So on behalf of the entire government team, thank you for your interest today and participation.
All right, with that, we will end the call. Again, thank you all for participating. We will post the meeting that is being recorded now to the Industry Day, and then we will also post the slides. I'm sorry, to the Interact page, and we will also post the slides to the Interact page by May 6th. Appreciate your time, and we'll close the meeting. Thank you.